So going back to defensive sight, we talk about the fact that you're going to have additions to what you're able to see and subtractions from what you're able to see. How's this going to impact, our senses? Our senses are evolutionary. They've guided us for hundreds of thousands of years to avoid dangers and to enhance our survival. How do you think these new technologies are going to impact our senses, or will the new technologies be adapted and honed to, bring out the best qualities of our senses?
Well, I think that there's probably a little bit of both. I mean, that's where I say that it's like there's the positive and the negative. I mean, the positive being that you'll be able to understand your world better. I mean, even if you think of like the Google apps where you can identify plants, of just like showing the screen and then like, the plant right away. And like that's just sort of, enhances the way that you are with the world. But on the other hand, you can get I do have to defend all of the advertising industry many times, because I do come from more of a marketing and, sales background. And so there is that fear of there will be all these new locations and opportunities for advertising everywhere, and that people are like going to be overwhelmed by that, which I don't think anyone wants. I mean, I think if it does happen, it will be a little bit over time, or it'll be that flip-flopping between platforms, and one platform is advertising based and another one is maybe not. But, if we think of the way that, like, we don't want the equivalent of like the endless scroll of social media to happen. Like, you need to sort of build in a certain amount of guardrails potentially for use or overuse. There was, when the new Oculus Quest Pro came out, there was somebody on social media who was like, I can't believe I can only wear it for like 4 hours at a time or something like that. And I was like, I potentially started a fight and went just like, maybe that's okay. Like, maybe not wearing it for more than 4 hours at a time is okay. Like, even if you just like put it down, you charge it for like an hour or whatever it is, and then you put it back on again, like, it's okay. There's, I think that there's going to be the temptation to live within a completely digital world all the time. And that, from a sight standpoint, is going to be a little bit too much and overwhelming. And so how to be able to balance that, how to be able to say, like, what are thoughtful choices among them, and to have, companies realize that, of saying, like, walking in going, wait a second, maybe you shouldn't be in VR all day. Maybe you shouldn't wear haptics all day. Like, maybe there's a certain amount of recommended amount of time, or a certain amount of time that's just sort of built in, that you say you do have to, you take this off or go and do something else or whatever it is. I think that I would hope there's a lot of like Gen Z to be like really, sort of grouping an entire generation together, tends to be more thoughtful about this kind of thing than the rest of the generations. And I say this just even having conversation with my students and meeting a lot of sort of, people who are in that, and they just sort of are a little bit of like, well, we shouldn't do this all the time. Like, why are we doing this? This doesn't make sense. Versus Gen X and millennials are sort of like, no, we want to be on social media 24/7. Granted, they're probably in gaming all the time, but that's a whole other thing. But I think that we will be, if we're not already overwhelmed, there will be more of a state of overwhelm. So what I like is that, like, in NVIDIA being one of the companies out there is trying to say, like, how can we use augmented reality to get people outside into the real world? And so it is this sort of different take on what is possible. So yes, it's experience. Yes, this is an augmented experience. Yes, it's, but it's like, be social, go out in the world, try new things, and I think that sort of almost like socially responsible, even though that's probably an overstatement, approach to these technologies, I think is a smart one.
Yes.
And because it's sort of taking care of consumers,
Yes.
taking care of customers. And so I think that if there's that kind of, how can it help and enhance, but also how can we protect and make sure that we're taking care of each other as society, because we're about to be even more digital than we ever were, I think
Yes.
is a good balance.